Welcome to War Lens Archive. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like and subscribe. You can't deny that time changes everything, from people to places. Only sometimes the changes are so subtle, you can hardly spot them as they're happening. To highlight these changes, we have created a series of comparison images between modern day and Victorian time England. Needless to say, not everything stood the test of time, but you can still recognize some of the surviving monuments from the good old days. Stonehenge. Most of the visitors who visit Stonehenge every year believe they are looking at untouched 4,000-year-old remains. But virtually every stone was re-erected, straightened, or embedded in concrete between 1901 and 1964. The first restoration project took place in 1901 and drastic renovations were carried out in the 1920s. This sepia image from 1877 offers a raw, striking view of Stonehenge, almost untouched by modern infrastructure. Fast forward to 2020, and the change is profound, reflecting a deep commitment to preservation. Many stones have been carefully re-erected and stabilized over the last century, giving the monument a more complete, recognizable form. Millbank, Westminster. If anywhere could be described as the political center of the British Empire at its height, it is Westminster Abbey and the towers of the Treasury, shown in the old image circa 1864. This photograph is a reminder that the city of Westminster was once mostly river marsh, and where the palace and abbey now stand was called Thorney Island. Victoria Gardens can be seen on the left-hand side of the modern image. The green space was created from 1864 to 1870 as part of the embankment of the north shore of the River Thames, which provided London with a modern sewage system. Bristol, St. Augustine Parade. St. Stephen's Church remains a constant on Bristol's skyline. In fact, it's been there since the year 1470. For several centuries, the church tower was a landmark that seafarers could use to guide themselves to Bristol Harbor. Today, it's tucked behind taller developments, such as Colston Tower, to the left of the modern image. But the most significant detail to have changed from photo to photo has been there even longer. The River Frome has disappeared from sight since this part of it was covered over in 1938. One of the latest developments in a long history of diverting and culverting the river to boost trade around the harbor. Liverpool, St. George's Hall. The area between Lime Street Railway Station and St. George's Hall opposite, on the left of the picture, is a rare example of a barely changed landscape in this part of the city. The area of Lime Street around the corner from the Gothic buildings has been radically transformed in the last few years. Talking of radical transformations, the neoclassical pomp of St. George's remains exactly where it stood when it opened in 1854 despite a persistent urban myth that it was accidentally built back to front. London Victoria Embankment. There's a surprisingly ancient piece of history in these photos. The obelisk in center frame is the 3,500-year-old Cleopatra's Needle, offered by Egypt to Britain as a gift in the 19th century AD. It remains sadly overlooked in 2019 as officials resist pressure to celebrate the 200-year anniversary of the gesture. Waterloo Bridge beyond is a far newer landmark, but with a more eventful history. It was the only Thames River bridge to incur damage from German bombs. More recently, it was the site of the major global warming protests of Extinction Rebellion. Manchester, Victoria Street. The cobblestones of Victoria Street may have long since vanished to make way for the motor car. The 1877 photo shows the monument in a state of romantic, unmanaged ruin, with many sarsens and lintels lying fallen or heavily leaning, testament to millennia of weathering and neglect. Visitors could wander right among the stones, which stood isolated and open to the world. By 2020, the commitment to heritage is clear. Many stones have been carefully re-erected and stabilized through major 20th century restorations. Newcastle, Blackgate, and Castle. The Blackgate drawbridge, post built in 1250, and Henry II's 842-year-old castle are listed buildings, so they haven't changed much between Victorian times and now. The most significant change is the building that's popped up between them in the photo, and this one's now listed, too. Built in a classical style as the Northumberland County Hall in 1910 and expanded upwards and outwards in 1933, it is now a hotel. The bridge has become a railway viaduct for the East Coast Main Line to Scotland. Scarborough, the spa at South Bay. The city of Scarborough can trace its fortunes to the 17th century discovery of a mineral spring with purportedly medicinal properties. Word spread and the spa became a fashionable tourist destination. And over the next 2 centuries, a sequence of structures of varying impressiveness overlooked the waters. The key difference between the pictures is the enclosure of the Sun Court in the later image. Although the Grand Hall seats 2,000, the Sun Court is an altogether more wholesome place to catch a performance by the Scarborough Spa Orchestra, who have performed there since 1912. Worthing Marine Parade. The pier at Worthing was first opened in 1862, with the South Pavilion in the background of the original photo added in 1889. The pavilion survived the gale that washed away much of the pier in 1914, but disappeared behind the bigger and more modern pier pavilion built at the shore end in 1926, which dominates today's photo. In the 1930s, the South Pavilion perished in a fire and passers-by hurried to dismantle the pier to stop the flames spreading to the new pavilion. The South Pavilion was subsequently rebuilt in the streamlined modern style, kind of Art Deco meets nautical. It later became a nightclub, before returning to use as a cafe and entertainment venue, while the pavilion in the modern picture is mostly in use as a theater. London. In 1948, Piccadilly Circus in London was re-emerging from the shadow of the Second World War. The famous neon lights, which had been turned off for the wartime blackout, were finally relit around this time, bringing back the signature buzz. Jump to 2014, and the scene is one of vast, high-definition digital power. The multiple separate neon signs of the past have been consolidated into one massive, curved, high-density LED screen. The sheer scale of the advertising has changed, marking the location as a key hub for global 21st century commerce. Edinburgh. In 1898, Edinburgh's Prince's Street pulses with the sophisticated energy of a late Victorian era. The imposing Caledonian Hotel, now the Balmoral, stands proudly on the right, its clock tower dominating the skyline, with an ornate, manicured garden filling the foreground. Below, the street is a mix of horse-drawn carriages and the tracks of the early trams, reflecting a city in transition. A century later, and the streetscape reflects the speed and complexity of the modern age. While the Grand Hotel and its clock tower remain a timeless anchor, the traffic has shifted entirely to motorized vehicles. Buses, cars, and delivery vans now fill the road. Cardiff. In 1890, Cardiff Castle stands as the powerful, recently restored creation of the Bute family, with its Victorian Gothic additions clearly visible. The castle walls are flanked by a thick, high hedge or row of trees, giving it a sense of grand seclusion. Fast forward to 2014, and the castle has transitioned from private residence to a vital public and historic space at the heart of the modern city. The dense greenery flanking the walls has been replaced by a clear pedestrian plaza and sidewalk, making the structure more accessible. Belfast. In 1893, the area around the Albert Memorial Clock was the commercial heart of Belfast, a hive of intense activity near the docks. The square is choked with the horse-drawn traffic of a busy port city. Carriages, carts, and early trams compete for space on the cobble surface. By 2014, the area has undergone a dramatic transformation, prioritizing modern traffic flow and contemporary design. The bustling square has been replaced by structured roads and lanes, creating a defined space for modern vehicles. Bristol. The Bristol city centre in 1901 is characterized by densely packed, ornate Victorian and Edwardian architecture, with grand buildings defining the streetscape. The skyline is dominated by traditional church towers and detailed stone facades, giving the city a heavy, uniform appearance. By 2014, the cityscape shows the profound impact of 20th century development and the Second World War. The immediate foreground has been opened up into a modern pedestrianized plaza, contrasting sharply with the earlier dense streets. Oxford. In 1873, Carfax, the historic heart of Oxford, is a confluence of academic tradition and bustling Victorian commerce. The iconic Carfax Tower, all that remains of St. Martin's Church, stands tall, surrounded by densely packed buildings, many with curved, Gothic-style gables. In 2014, and the scene is dominated by the needs of mass modern transport. While the historic towers and the primary architectural lines of the surviving buildings remain beautifully intact, the focus has shifted entirely to public vehicles. Liverpool. We now turn to Liverpool, a global port city whose commercial heart is Church Street. The 1902 photo captures a narrow, busy retail street defined by ornate, multi-story Victorian department stores, with elaborate window displays and overhanging awnings. By 2014, the street has been transformed into a sleek, completely pedestrianized shopping avenue. The historic architecture has, in large part, been replaced by large, modern retail units featuring glass facades and massive digital billboards, reflecting the contemporary retail experience. Birmingham. We look now at Chamberlain Square in Birmingham, an area that showcases one of the most dramatic architectural transformations in British city planning. Comparing the square in 1912 with the scene in 2007 reveals a profound shift from ornate Victorian design to stark brutalist architecture. Manchester. We look now at Portland Street in Manchester, a key commercial thoroughfare of the great industrial city. The 1910 image shows the street dominated by the trams. The street is lined with traditional, dense Victorian and Edwardian red brick buildings that house smaller shops and businesses. Pedestrians share the street with few automobiles. By 2014, the scene is streamlined for modern individual motor traffic, though a large double-decker bus is also prominent. The historic buildings remain largely intact on both sides, demonstrating a high level of architectural preservation. Brighton. We now turn to Brighton, a famous seaside resort, to witness the dramatic change at the West Pier. Comparing this iconic structure in its prime in 1916 with a desolate coastline in 2011 offers a powerful commentary on heritage lost to nature and neglect. Pipewell Gate, Winchelsea. Our journey takes us away from the major cities to a rural corner of Britain, focusing on Pipewell Gate. Comparing this ancient, ivy-covered stone arch in 1900 with the present day in 2024 highlights the remarkable endurance of modest historical landmarks. Albert Square, Manchester. Albert Square in Manchester was created between 1863 and 1867 as a dedicated civic space to house the Albert Memorial, an ornate Gothic canopy commemorating Prince Albert following his death in 1861. Over the 20th century, the square evolved from a busy traffic hub into a largely pedestrianized landmark. Clovelly. The picturesque view looking down Clovelly, a historic village in North Devon, known for its steep, cobbled Main Street, which tumbles 400 feet down to the small harbor. Pembroke Castle. Pembroke Castle in Wales was the birthplace of Henry VII in 1457, the founder of the powerful Tudor dynasty. Originated in 1093 as a Norman fort, its iconic stone structure, including the massive circular keep, was built by William Marshal starting in 1189, establishing it as a key military stronghold in South Wales. Malmesbury Abbey. Malmesbury Abbey captured before and after its substantial restoration in 1912, bringing this historic structure back to life. The current structure was buyout between 1118 and 1139. Leicester's Marketplace. Here's how Leicester's Marketplace, first recorded in 1298, appeared in the early 1900s next to its appearance today. Today, it is Europe's largest outdoor covered market. St. John's Gate, Clerkenwell. A large group of smartly dressed locals standing under St. John's Gate in Clerkenwell, London in 1890. It was originally built in 1504 as the main entrance to the Priory of the Knights Hospitaller, also known as the Order of St. John. After the dissolution of the monasteries, it was repurposed for various uses, including a printing press, a coffee house, and offices. Today, it houses the Museum of the Order of St. John. Dalmeny House, Scotland. An antique vintage print of Dalmeny House, Scotland from 1900 compared to today. Completed in 1817, it was the first building in Scotland constructed in the Tudor Revival style, drawing inspiration from 16th century East Barsham Manor in Norfolk. Sandwich, Kent. The Barbican in Sandwich, Kent captured before and after the buildings near it were demolished. Originally built in 1538 to cover the entrance to the town from the bridge over the River Stour, the Grade 1 listed medieval gatehouse served as a toll gate for the adjacent bridge. Maple Durham Watermill. Maple Durham Watermill is the last commercially working watermill on the River Thames. It's existed since at least the Domesday Book of 1086, with the present building dating from the 15th century and later enlarged in the 17th and 18th century. It still grinds flour and, in modern times, also generates hydroelectric power, blending centuries of history with sustainable technology. York City Walls. Two smartly dressed ladies walk along the York City walls in 1904, the most complete set of medieval city walls still standing in England, compared to today. Enclosing the historic core of York for over 2 miles, the walls protected the city through centuries of conflict, including the Wars of the Roses and the English Civil War. SS Great Britain. Once the world's largest passenger ship, the SS Great Britain returned to Bristol in July 1970 after being rescued from the Falkland Islands, where she had been sunk in 1937. Decades of exposure left her battered, but careful restoration has brought her back to her former glory. Today, she is celebrated as one of Britain's most historic ships. Staithes. Staithes, a fishing village on the North Yorkshire coast, grew in the 16th and 17th century as a busy harbor for herring and cod, with its tightly packed cottages clinging to cliffs. Today, its narrow lanes and historic character hasn't changed much since this photograph in 1895. Great Yarmouth Town Hall. An old boat docks outside Great Yarmouth Town Hall, an impressive Victorian Gothic revival. In 1890, compared to the same view today. Built in 1882, the town hall's ornate facade, featuring pointed arches and decorative stonework, symbolizes the architectural ambition of the era. Downing Street, London. Downing Street in London, pictured here around 1900 and 2025, is famously known as the home of the British Prime Minister. It was built in the 17th century by Sir George Downing, a diplomat and spy, who developed the street on the site of a former mansion. Number 10 became the official residence of the Prime Minister in the early 18th century. The Palace of Westminster. The vintage image dates back to around 1880, when the Palace of Westminster was virtually new. It was erected in the Gothic Revival style between 1840 and 1860, following a disastrous fire that gutted the original building in 1834. The roof to the right belongs to Westminster Hall, the only part of the original palace to survive the fire. It was here that King Charles I was found guilty of treason. Waterman Stairs. In the old picture, you'll see the Waterman Stairs by Westminster Bridge on the south bank of the Thames in 1906. These were a common feature of the river, used by taxi drivers called watermen, to ferry passengers in the 17th and 18th centuries. Waterman Stairs were largely swept away when the Thames was embanked through the second half of the 19th century and into the early 20th. The new photograph shows County Hall, constructed between 1911 and 1922. Charing Cross Station. In the old image, you'll see Charing Cross Station as it appeared in 1890. The station itself was once the main terminal for continental Europe. The viaduct under the station's tracks was even designed for wine cellars. However, the station's reputation changed during World War I when it became the main departure point for the Western Front and the main arrival point for a vast number of returning war wounded. It is no longer a continental gateway, but instead serves as a commuter route for London's southeastern suburbs and for the County of Kent. Piccadilly Circus. Piccadilly Circus is the center of London's entertainment industry. An old snapshot winds the clock back to 1905, with Sir Alfred Gilbert's Eros sculpture seen in the center. The sculpture, erected in 1893, was the world's first to be cast entirely in aluminium. Eros has been moved several times, such as from 1922 to 1931 when the Underground was being constructed and for safety during World War II. Today, it's located near the Criterion Theatre in a new pedestrian area that was built to improve traffic flow. Oxford Circus. Oxford Street was originally part of the Via Trinobantina, a Roman road linking present-day Essex with Hampshire. When this 1895 photograph was taken, Oxford Circus was known as Regent Circus. The elegant circus, built in the Regency style in 1810 by John Nash, contrasts with the jumble of buildings built on Oxford Street itself. In 1900, the new underground station at what was now called Oxford Circus was opened. The opening of the underground station made Oxford Circus a focus for leisure shopping in central London, a position it still holds today. St. Pancras Station Hotel. The hotel, shown in 1900, is one of the world's most dramatic Gothic revival buildings. It opened in 1872 as the Midland Grand Hotel, boasting an extraordinary main staircase and 250 bedrooms. St. Pancras had many years of glory, but the cost of maintaining such an elaborate building was high. The successful effort to preserve Scott's masterpiece was led by Jane Fawcett MBE, Secretary to the Victorian Society. Today, the building, having received a detailed restoration, is once more a first-class hotel. High Holborn. High Holborn has been a major London thoroughfare since medieval times. The old photograph was taken in 1890 when the street was lined with pubs. On the left-hand side of the picture, you'll see the large clock advertising Henneke's Wine Merchants, and further down the street is the large headquarters of the Prudential Assurance Company. It was later extensively restored. Today, it has shops and is also used by the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. Fleet Street. The old image was captured in 1883 when the street was lined with taverns, which were frequented by journalists. The street's ties with journalism go back to 1702, when the world's earliest newspaper, the Daily Courant, was published there. At the end of the street looms St. Paul's Cathedral Dome atop Ludgate Hill. The street was named after the River Fleet, which once crossed the road, but was diverted underground in the 1700s. The newspaper industry left Fleet Street in the 1980s, and today most of its former headquarter buildings are occupied by international banking conglomerates. London Bridge. The first bridge across the Thames was built here by the Romans circa 50 AD in wood, but it fell into disrepair after the Romans departed in 410. In 1209, a stone bridge was erected, which would go on to have buildings on it. This bridge lasted until the bridge that is seen in the vintage photograph was built in 1831. The new London Bridge opened in 1973. The gap between the buildings on the right-hand side of the bridge in the contemporary photo shows where Old London Bridge reached the North Bank. Victoria Street. In another view of the Victoria Street, the old image shows that it is dominated by the magnificent, curved facade of the former George Hotel on the left and a prominent railway bridge arching overhead. Horse-drawn carriages and a few early motor cars navigate the tram's lines, giving the scene a distinct Victorian-era feel. In the new photo, the scene is transformed into a major construction zone. The historic George Hotel building has been demolished, leaving a raw, curved red brick structure. Crucially, the old iron railway bridge spanning the street is gone, replaced by a much wider, modern road network. We arrive at Victoria Street in Bristol, a thoroughfare engineered in the 19th century that quickly became a center for commerce, lined with striking Bristol Byzantine-style warehouses and shops. The old image captures this bustling Victorian era, featuring dense, ornate brickwork and an older, less regulated flow of horse and early motor traffic. You might even spot the original Grand George Hotel or the area around Temple Church before significant redevelopment. Now, the photograph showcases a dramatic evolution. The picturesque, leaning tower of the ruined Temple Church remains a static feature. But the skyline is dominated by post-war office blocks, a complete architectural departure. Robinson Building. This building is the spectacular former Victorian neo-Gothic headquarters of the paper and packaging manufacturer E.S.&A. Robinson, located on the corner of Victoria Street and Redcliffe Street in Bristol. The structure, built in 1876, features an incredible, ornate fortress-like gatehouse and a decorative tower or turret. This highly detailed and decorative architectural style was unfortunately damaged during the Bristol Blitz in the Second World War. The new photo shows a stark contrast, a wide modern road, Temple Way, and a dramatically different architectural style. The centerpiece is the towering, minimalist white slab of 1 Redcliffe Street, formerly known as the Robinson Building, which was constructed in the early 1960s after the demolition of the Victorian structure. College Green. This view looks up Park Street from the junction at College Green, a central public space in Bristol. The vintage photograph from 1900 shows a classic Edwardian streetscape, heavily reliant on pedestrian traffic and horse-drawn trams, carriages, and carts climbing the steep incline. The buildings lining the street are dense, with ornate awnings and shop signs characteristic of the era. Moving to the new photo from 2020, the historic architecture of the shop fronts on both sides of the street remains remarkably intact, though modern signage and street furniture are clearly visible. The most striking change is the appearance of the towering Wills Memorial Building at the crest of the hill, dominating the modern skyline, which was constructed after the 1900 photo was taken. Manchester Town Hall. And last but not least is this imposing landmark is Manchester Town Hall, a masterpiece of Victorian neo-Gothic architecture designed by Alfred Waterhouse and opened in 1877. The old photograph captures the building in its early years, likely the late 19th or early 20th century. The striking 286-foot clock tower dominates the sky, with the sandstone facade appearing darker, a result of decades of industrial pollution and soot. Its image, taken in modern times, shows the building's enduring architecture remains the focal point of Albert Square. Crucially, the exterior stonework appears significantly brighter and cleaner due to extensive restoration, contrasting with the Victorian soot-covered appearance. What these comparisons show us is that Britain is fundamentally a nation built on endurance and adaptation. Ancient stones have been preserved, Victorian grandeur has been repurposed, and the chaos of early urban traffic has been refined into the structured flow of modern life. While the technologies and architecture change, the core spirit of these places, as centers of commerce, community, and history, remains unwavering. These images are not just a nostalgic look back. They're a powerful reminder that the landscapes we inhabit today are layers built upon layers of the past. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time.